for this very special episode of the Many Loves Lunch Hour with Mandy here on Split Radio. I do want to go ahead and issue a trigger warning. Do you issue trigger warnings? You just say them. I'm going to issue a trigger warning and say that this episode will contain stories and information about sexual assault. If you have been sexually assaulted, this episode will contain information that is possibly painful and difficult to hear. And I completely understand if you can't stick around. So with that being said, welcome to the Many Loves Lunch Hour with Mandy here on Split Radio. I am Mandy Koenig, the host and hostess. I am your host, and I have no letters behind my name except MILF, M-I-L-F, which I have been granted by the famous Robin Beach from Sex with Robin. Which seems kind of inappropriate today, to be honest. Not Robin, but MILF. Okay, stop. Just a heads up, I'm a little nervous today, and I know that I can be nervous with you all because I know that you all are incredible and supportive and have been with me through many nervous episodes. So I'm nervous today. We're talking about something that is super, super close to me and has just recently happened to me, and has happened previously, and happens to so many people every day. And it's something that we don't talk about enough. We are going to talk about sexual assault by a partner today. And we have a very special guest coming up. And before I bring him out, I want to share some definitions with you all. As Michael from Probably Polly always says, we have to all be on the same page with the definition so we all know what we're talking about and we can communicate better. So I want to define sexual assault for you. Rapecrisis.org defines sexual assault as when someone touches another person in a sexual manner without their consent, or when someone makes another person take part in a sexual activity with them without that person's consent. This includes unwanted kissing and sexual touching. RAINN.org, which is the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, defines it as sexual contact or behavior that occurs without explicit consent of the victim. Some forms of sexual assault include attempted rape, fondling or unwanted sexual touch, forcing a victim to perform sexual acts such as oral sex or penetrating the perpetrator's body, or penetration of the victim's body, also known as rape. I want to add also that no one deserves to be sexually assaulted. No one asks to be sexually assaulted, and there is nothing wrong with you if you have been a victim of sexual assault. You did not ask for this, and you did not deserve it. We did not ask for this, and we did not deserve it. Hands in the pockets. 8 out of 10 sexual assaults are committed by someone who is known to the victim. 39% are committed by an acquaintance. 33% are committed by a current or former spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, or partner, which is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about what sexual assault looks like by a partner, by someone that you care about, someone that you thought cared about you, someone that actually cares about you, possibly. Not all perpetrators, not all people that commit sexual assaults are educated enough to know that that's what they're doing. This is not an excuse, but, and I know you all know I hate buts, but it can be a reason. So if you can, and I'm in a position that I can, we have to educate people about what sexual assault looks like, what it looks like coming from a partner, and how to heal from it. We've got to be able to talk to people who have committed a sexual assault, and explain to them what they've done wrong, and explain how to go forward and not continue to do these things. If you or someone you know has been a victim of sexual assault, I'm going to put the RAINN National Sexual Assault Hotline on the screen for the remainder of the show. Please share this with them or utilize this number yourself. Again, this is going to be a hard show for me to do. And I appreciate every one of you for listening and sticking around and watching me fumble through this. So I am going to go ahead and introduce our guest today, who is someone that I love, someone that I care about tremendously, someone who continues to do the work to break the toxic masculine indoctrination that he has received growing up in the South, growing up male. And that's something that's really hard to unlearn. And Shawn is doing it. Let me go ahead and bring him on.
Hey, there we go.
Welcome to the show, Shawn. You go by Sir Landry. I told you that I wasn't going to be able to not say Shawn.
All good. All good. It's been my name since birth. So what can I do?
Shawn and I were partners. We actually just figured this out before the show because none of this
hard.
Right. Calendars are hard.
The Mayans just ruined everything. That was
right. So Shawn and I were partners starting in 2014 for just under 2 years. Then we broke up and were not partners for the better part of 4 years. For some of that, we remained friends, but for some of that, we had to do a complete cutoff. And you all have heard me talk about that. When you de-escalate a relationship, sometimes you have to get that space, which is what Shawn and I had to do. And there was no fault in either of us for needing that space. It just is needed sometimes to reset and kind of reassess where you are in life and where you are in a relationship and what you want in a relationship. And we did that. And we have called each other partners again for just about 1.5 years now. Right? Isn't that what we figured out?
Sounds about right.
So Shawn's been in my life for a long time, the better part of a long time. He is someone that I trust. And again, someone who has had to unlearn that toxic masculinity that boys and young men are taught growing up, especially in the South. And I do want to put this out there because somebody's going to say something, and I don't want it to come off this way. Because men are sexually assaulted as well. Men are sexually assaulted by women as well. They're sexually assaulted by men, but they can be sexually assaulted by women. Women can be sexually assaulted by women. When I say men and women, I mean all men and women, however you identify in one of those categories, or neither of those categories, or both of those categories.
Anyone can be sexually assaulted.
Anyone can be sexually assaulted. And I repeat, no one deserves it or asks for it. So if you want to take a minute and let me get a drink of coffee and introduce yourself, Shawn.
Oh, sure. Yeah, like Mandy said, we've been together for a few years. It was that nice split there. We had a mutual agreement of cutting all that off. I needed to break down what feelings and thoughts, what meant everything. And that took time. That's not one of those things where, that's usually kind of a go-to in a breakup. Someone's like, oh, I've got to work on me. And then nobody puts the work in. Like it's a rarity that somebody actually puts the work in, but I did. And it took a long time. It was one of those situations where I was not okay for a good while. And I didn't know why. In my field, part of what I do, I work in IT. I find mysteries and fix problems. Like that's pretty much it. And when I found something inside of me that I didn't understand, I needed to know the why and the how all that worked. And that's just my, I guess, troubleshooting methodology. And I added that to the human side and tried to take in as much knowledge and data and all that as I could, and then apply that to my own feelings. And man, that's draining. That is very draining. And I get why people won't put that much work into it, because exhausting.
Yeah, self-work is hard.
But in the end, I mean, I feel like while I am still well into the journey, I feel like I've made a lot of headway over a couple of years, and can say where I was wrong in some situations, and where I was great in some, good in some, whatever. But I can definitely pick out the faults, and I don't feel like it's a failure at this point, because I learned from it. That's one thing my grandpa said when I was a kid. He was like, man, anything worth doing is worth doing well. That classic attitude. But it's like, just put your all into it. You're gonna pull out of it, and that was pretty much it. I had to put everything into it, but I think the results that I got out of it were great. I feel better about me, and nobody can make you feel better about you. And you being who you are, except for you. So that's the fun stuff. Nobody can do it for you or want it for you or any of that. So that's kind of my thoughts on that piece. But
yeah, and you and I've discussed this before. I as a rule live my life with zero regrets.
Right.
Everything has a lesson in it in some way. But I was just talking to a partner over the weekend. Not you, of course, no. Or I wouldn't be telling you this story. Another partner over the weekend about
oh wait, you have other partners? I was like sorry, derailed, sorry.
That I've never regretted a relationship in my life until recently.
Oof.
And I can honestly say that I completely regret the last relationship that I had that just recently ended. Yeah. And that's hard to say. That's hard. That's a hard place to be in for me. No, knowing me, like right. That's nothing good came out of that relationship. And I'm really hoping that doing this show, We plan on doing a Probably Polly podcast about it as well. I really hope that something in my creating awareness and advocacy for this topic, something will come out of it. Something will help somebody, so I don't regret the 6 months I spent with this individual.
Right.
The whole reason that we're doing this show today is because, let me Wonder Woman up, is because this individual sexually assaulted me. He, in a moment of vulnerability and inebriation, he forced me to perform sexual acts and touched me sexually without my consent, and in fact, with explicit non-consent. Let me clarify that anything besides an enthusiastic yes, a continued enthusiastic yes, is a no. And no means no. And that's besides the physical violation, the violation of trust by someone that's supposed to care about you, that's supposed to be your partner and supposed to love you, and that you love and care about, that's been more. The mental violation is worse for me. The emotional violation has been much worse for me. Especially because since it happened, his behavior has been pretty narcissistic. Yeah, it's
Wow.
yeah. So, I don't even remember where I was going with that. I was just going.
It's gotta be disheartening to be in that
It's
situation. Like
I said, the emotional violation, I think, is so much worse for me than the physical violation.
Oh yeah, that's a given in pretty much any situation. But I imagine this compounds in that there's the sexual side to it. The way our brains work with that kind of trauma is absolutely, it's still unknown for a lot of that. But the physical scars heal, you know, the old adages. But you know, those emotional scars, I carry stuff from my childhood, man. Who doesn't?
Right.
That kind of stuff is crazy. But to come over that with somebody who, and I know how you love. Like I understand how you love, and it's deep
For me
and all and
particularly.
everything. Exactly. And for you to, you have walls. You know, we all do. You have walls, but once those walls are down, once you finally show that vulnerability, like you don't do like I don't know. My brain doesn't work in that way to kindly now, I guess, to take advantage of something like that. But I'm holding an egg. You know, somebody just gave you the most vulnerable parts of themselves, and you just decide to now do what I want. That's odd. That's just not okay. So that piece of it is just bad. And like I said, with you in particular, how I know how deeply you love and care for your partners, and you will do the work as well. I don't understand how you couldn't get through something like that, even if there was a time apart or figuring something out or something like that. That's a big that's a big sentence there, that you couldn't do anything about that piece, and that doesn't speak to you. That speaks to just the other person in question's character. Just that's my 2 cents on that piece.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a second chances person for
Yeah.
sure. We can work through anything as long as we are both working through it.
Right.
And that just could not happen this time. Yeah. It just yeah, it was not okay. And for reference, this happened 5 weeks ago. Something along that, maybe 4 weeks ago. And I kicked myself. God, I kicked myself. I kicked myself hard when it first happened, because how could I have? I'm a fairly good judge of character. Like, I'm a pretty good judge of a person. And I dropped my wall for this person. And looking back, there were signs. We don't see those signs in NRE.
Nah.
It's
Nah.
really hard to see red flags when you've got rose-colored glasses on. We've talked about this before.
Shades.
It's hard. It's hard. And then, of course, you know, the old adage, hindsight's 2020. They make country songs about this, right?
About that.
There were signs. There was pouty requests for sex. There were times where I woke up and I thought that I had felt something, but maybe I was just dreaming it. Probably those things were happening. Now looking back, like, probably wasn't dreaming those things.
That's cringy.
But I gave this person the benefit of the doubt that there's no way that was happening while I was sleeping. There's no way that this happened without my express consent. This person had told me what a good person they were, that they were working on things that they had issues with in the past, and all the right things had been said. All of the right things had been said. And yeah, I got. Yeah, it sucked.
Yeah. Well,
before we continue, I want to remind listeners that even with today's topic, I encourage you to send us questions, comments, and critiques in the chats, in the comments below the videos, the comments below the live streams. If they are relevant and appropriate, I will, of course, put them on the screen, and either myself or Shawn will answer them. If you have direct questions for one or the other, please specify that. But as always, we highly encourage questions, comments, and critique. And I always include critique because I fuck stuff up. I don't always get it right, and I may say something wrong. And if you absolutely feel like I am wrong in that, please let me know.
And I always do get it right. So facts. No, not facts.
Shawn, one of the reasons that we talked about you coming on today isn't just for the support for me, the emotional and moral support for me in this incredibly sensitive and close topic today. But like I said in introducing you, that you come from a place of that indoctrinated toxic masculinity that tells you you do have some type of entitlement to women's bodies, especially if they're your partner. Because that's the big thing, right, that we're talking about today is sexual assault by a partner.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, a partner will feel like they have some sort of entitlement to you or your body because they're your partner. Because you've said once before, yes.
Yeah.
Because you've said a million times before, yes, does not mean this time there was an explicit, enthusiastic yes. I think that's where we get fucked up in our heads is that we think because we've said yes before, there's some type of standing.
Oh yeah, you don't get to say no. That's not how that works.
Is that your experience? Is that how kind of you were taught growing up?
Yeah, and it wasn't like, my dad set me down and said, "Look, son," it's not like that. You learn by what you see,
by media, an example.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And not to mention like what you see locally. Yeah. You've got the media side of things. Like it's just shoveled in that, men be men don't cry. And, man grab woman do what, nah, that's not how it works. Like, and honestly, it wasn't until I was in deeper relationships and I was older that it clicked. Okay. My particular situation, we briefly spoke about this earlier about how in my brain, I was always scared of you did something and now you're going to go to jail because I said stop and you didn't stop. All that stuck in my head. And I was like, God, I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I don't want to, all that's in there. When you're dating somebody or something like that, I never even thought about that with like a deep relationship with like a fiance, a marriage. I mean, but that piece of paper is ownership, right? Don't I own you after no? Right. No, you don't. and that's the thing. I mean, even so everybody makes those little jokes. Go, well, I got the deed on her now. Yeah, that's funny to say something like that. But when you start saying things over and over, you kindly start believing them, And
well, historically in our country, that's what that piece of paper means.
Yeah. How many loveless marriages where what do they call it? Womanly duties?
Right. Your wifely duties.
Yeah, she doesn't have to enjoy that. No, that's what she's there for. She is there to
service your sexual
feed
needs.
And to breed. That's the two things. You feed and you breed. Women. Yep. Yeah, that was that. And that's been it since God knows how. I mean, I guess since the advent of this country. But no, that kind of I guess you can call it indoctrination or whatnot. It's just learned socially and through media and all that. Once that's in you, if you don't check that, it just is what it is. It's your standard operating procedure. I don't like standard operating procedures making me feel bad about me, like, or I definitely don't want a standard operating procedure to make someone else feel bad about them. That's not the goal, So
I wish we could get to a place where partners, and in particularly men, don't feel like fucking them is a requirement of the relationship.
Yeah. Just recently over the last couple of years, I've kind of gotten to that. I mean, my own wife, going through those thoughts and those, I can tell you the why I felt those feelings from, what happened previously, what I saw as examples, and what I felt inside. And it's like you said earlier, the best way that I've ever heard it is that you have a reason to feel that way, but you don't have a right to push that onto anybody else. Feel that, deal with that, but you don't have the right to push that on anybody else. That is your hangups, that is your problems to deal with. And although, like, the feelings that I would feel, let's say I asked you or my wife, hey, do you mind, you want to fool around, anything like that, and there's a no. Well, I feel a deep personal rejection because, well, you hate me, I'm ugly, I'm fat, I'm disgusting, you never loved me anyway. All that comes in. That's not your hang up, that's not your problem. You could have just had a bad day. Your brain may be on some TV show you thought about. You're not there. It's not your duty to be there all the time. It's you're not just there for my pleasure. Like, right. That's not how that works. And that takes a while. There's been times where I've said no. Never thought that was going to be the case. Never thought that was going to be the case, but it's just like, no, my heart's not right. My emotions aren't okay right now. It doesn't work. And I never thought about anybody else's emotions. Like, you don't think about anybody else's emotions because we're all just those little tight, everybody's self-absorbed. As much as we try to push that out, ultimately you is the first thing you have to take care of, Right. But trying to give a little bit of yourself in that situation and put yourself in someone else's shoes and be like, oh, well, they may have any number of things happening in their brain right now. Like, sex isn't a physical thing. It is, but it's more of a brain thing. If your chemicals aren't bubbling the way they need to bubble, you ain't going to get there,
Right. I think the entitlement is the biggest issue. Yeah. I think it's the biggest cause of sexual assault by a partner. And this is me pulling this shit out of my ass, y'all. I can't quote a source for this. Your source is Mandy. I just really feel this way, having experienced it more than once, and I've discussed this on Robin's show before, talking about sex and about how I didn't even enjoy sex until I was almost 23, having been sexually active for almost a decade prior to that. But in the situations prior to that, I felt like it was what was expected of me. I felt like that's what you did for a boyfriend or girlfriend. You pleased them sexually. You let them be pleased sexually. In fact, you made sure that they were pleased sexually or they would leave you.
To leave, yeah.
And that's, you don't want that. So it's not that not that everyone that I was with in that 10 years prior felt entitled to my body. I felt they were entitled to my body. And talk about some fucked up mentality.
Yeah.
Where I was made to think that my partner was entitled to my body. It just, and there's so many people out there that feel this way. So the entitlement issue, I really fucking feel passionately that it's on both sides. That entitlement is fucking us up, man.
Yeah, it definitely does. It definitely does go both ways on that entitlement piece as well.
We've got a comment. I'm not going to put the comments on the screen today, y'all, because I simply want to keep the RAINN sexual assault hotline up on the screen for as long as we can today. And if you're just listening, that RAINN National Sexual Assault Hotline is 1-800-656-HOPE or 1-800-656-4673. We do have a comment on Facebook from Christy Hall. Hey, Christy, thanks for joining us. She's always, she listens all the time. I love her to death. She says, Mandy, I want to thank you so much for this very vulnerable topic. It took me many years to realize that it wasn't normal to cry through sex with a partner. It has taken me 5 years of hard therapy work to really find myself after this particular past relationship. This needs to be talked about more. Thank you. You're so very welcome, Christy. And it, thank you for saying that, because like I said, I just want, this is my way of, God, something fucking good's got to come out of this, because I cannot accept the fact that I lived a shit show for 6 months, and it just is what it is.
Yeah.
I can't accept that. Oh, wow, we have a lot of comments coming in now. Ember, hey, Ember, thanks for joining us. Ember says, when I was married, my high school sweetheart ex-husband would emotionally coerce me into agreeing to fulfill his sexual urges. Yes, exactly. The coercion, that coercion is rape.
Yeah.
Coerced sex is rape. Coerced sex is sexual assault, y'all. He made it feel like his gratification was my responsibility. And if I didn't happily agree to receive anal sex again, I was being unloving to him, and I didn't care about his needs. He probably wouldn't even understand that was wrong. That right there. Like that's what, we were saying earlier. Shawn, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's emotional manipulation, 100% emotional manipulation. And there's that fine line of negotiating what is okay versus, you don't do this, you don't love me. Like, that's a tough, I've been in that spot. Like, I've been in that spot because I thought that my feelings were more important than anybody else in the room. It's not right. It's not right. But yeah, you don't know that that's wrong. That's kind of the whole, the education piece, I think, is paramount to kind of quelling the curve there, to making that happen. And as far as education, while that might be a treatment, it's not going to be the cure 100%, because people have to seek that out. People have to know that they're wrong before they seek that out, which kind of sucks, because you come to the conclusion that these situations are going to have to happen for anybody to ever check them. These situations go unchecked. Like, that's one thing that I'm actually proud of you for, and that you actually checked someone on that you said earlier that you had regrets, but you did it. You checked someone on that, and maybe that's going to make a difference for them, and 100% is going to make a difference for somebody else. Anybody else who happens to come across that path of that person. It has to be spoken about, because just like it was, like I said, it was indoctrinated as far as, I see, this is right, this is right, this is right. Ooh, that's different. Wait, what's right? You have to get to that question point in yourself before you can get any growth on that piece. So,
and that was my thought process, was when it happened to me, it was, how many other women has this happened to from this perpetrator? How many other women is this going to happen to? Is this going to happen to after me?
If it goes unchecked.
If there was any way that I could prevent him from hurting someone else, I just want, and again, I cared about this person. I didn't want this to happen to anyone else. I didn't want him to make mistakes that he didn't realize he was making.
Yeah.
Robin says, I love you, Robin. Robin's not going to do her show today because she's in a lot of pain. She suffers from chronic pain in her back. And she's in a lot of pain today. So I'm sure she is laying in the bed listening to me. I'm glad. Thank you so much, Robin, for being here. Robin says lack of education, sense of entitlement,
Yep.
poor communication, shame, anger, sadly, many things that consent violations have in common. Education and normalization of sex would make a huge difference. Thank you both for being here and sharing. Why do we not learn in school what sexual assault looks like?
There's so much we don't learn in school.
But why is that not communicated in, we have the dumb, and I say dumb because they're fucking dumb. The dumb sex ed, human development health classes that, the 1 week that they spend with the kids. Can we maybe not, talk about abstinence, and maybe let's, talk about when someone forces themselves on you?
Yeah. The two things I learned there had nothing to do with that. I learned how to put on deodorant properly, and I learned how to put a condom on a banana that made me feel sad about myself. So that's it. That's the two things I learned. Nothing about how we should view partners that we're with or anything like that. They don't go into any of the emotional side of things. It's all the physical side. They're coming at it from a scientific standpoint, and when emotions are involved, while yes, chemicals are science, there's still a lot deeper discussions that have to be made. And yeah, I agree. The education is going to be the kicker, but you got to have a catalyst for that education, man. And like, how do you get to that? Like, there's got to be a way to get to that without someone having to be assaulted and be checked. Like, what do you do?
It's, I don't know. I think, and here in I wouldn't say small town Georgia. It's a fairly large town that I live in, but in our county, one of the things that's like a hot button fucking topic right now is emotional education and how they don't want it in the schools.
Oh wow, yeah, that makes sense.
Like, what? Don't get me wrong. Parents should be the ones doing this, but not all parents are equipped to do this.
Yeah.
Not all parents are equipped to teach their children boundaries and no means no, and anything but a fucking yes means no. So yeah, we need to be supplementing that.
Yeah.
With people who are actually trained and educated to teach other people this. Not me. Mm-hmm. Not me. I am not trained for this. But, we've got another comment here. Robin says, in high school, abstinence-only education had nothing but shame and fear. Never lead him on.
Yeah. That goes back to the point we were talking about earlier with you can't cause anybody else to act. No. They act. That's the thing. That was actually one of the key points of what I learned. No outside interaction is going to cause me to make a decision and act on that. Now you can think it. You can think it all you want. Think. But also, don't act. Like, you're the one who makes that choice. Oh my God, it stresses me out. So it's the whole, she shouldn't have been dressed like that. What? Somebody else doing something doesn't cause me to do something. That irritates. Such an easy way out, man.
I want to just jump right back to what we were saying about how I've always felt like in a relationship, when I'm in a relationship, I can work through anything if we're both working on it.
Right.
I've worked through partners cheating on me. I've worked through partners up and leaving me and moving across the country. I've worked through all of this because the both of us wanted to work on it. The reason, the catalyst for me not putting any more energy into this relationship was because the morning after, when I realized what happened, when I realized, fuck, he just sexually violated me. I got to talk to him. Like, we've got to talk about this shit. This is not okay. We sat down and we talked that night. And I told him what happened, or I told him what I remember happening. He confirmed that happened. Said he was wrong for doing it. Then, in the same fucking minute, he said, from now on, when you go to sleep, I'm just going to have to leave your room.
Ooh. I'm not one to use words like problematic, but what? So ultimately, you're saying
what I heard in that moment was, you can't trust me to be around you while you're sleeping.
Yeah. Or I guess I can't lay beside you and not rape you. That's a thing. The hell? How is that a thing? How is that? How does someone think that that's okay?
Right.
There's no other way to take that. Like, how else could you take that to make that PG? No.
And that's when I went, I can't fix this. I can't fix this.
Yeah, that's unfixable.
Ember says, wow, what the fuck? Sorry that someone you trusted did and said that. What the fuck? Yes, Ember, what the actual fuck? Robin's comment. Well, let me finish Robin's comment from earlier. She said, in high school with abstinence only education had nothing but shame and fear. Never lead him on, is what she was told. When I asked my guy friends if their classes were as scary as mine, because remember, they separate us, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. They separate us based on our genitals. When I asked my guy friends if their classes were as scary as mine, they said the gym teacher shrugged and said, just use condoms, guys.
Yeah. Speaking as an outie, I can say, yeah, that's the speech the outies got. I don't know what the innies got. So that's pretty much, that's it. Fun stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. All we ended up with
something stiffer in this cup, man.
I'm telling you. Yeah. No, we had a shop class full of spermicide covered bananas. That's all we had. Nice. So, yeah, love it.
What happens to those bananas? Do y'all peel them and eat them?
You know, I'm not going to do that. I'm not into that. But, you know, the taste of that is not my forte there. Covered in some strawberry sauce, and I got you. But, yeah, we got to hold off on that piece. No.
Yeah, it's ugh.
Terrible.
Yeah, it blows me away that our what minuscule education we have in schools is focused on don't have sex. If you do, use a condom. Put your deodorant on.
Yeah, please put deodorant on though. That's a key.
And none of your dicks are as big as bananas.
No, not at all. Yeah, no.
Like that's it's and from what I remember, and my youngest was, is probably the least removed from that dumb class. She's 16 now. But it's I remember her bringing home the paperwork.
Oof.
And me going, holy shit, this is what they're teaching you? And it was like a workbook where she was supposed to like fill in blanks and, all this stuff and bring it back. And her and I took the paper and like crossed out words and wrote them correctly. And like, I remember calling Angel Professor Sex and going, Holy shit, let me tell you what my daughter just brought home. It was ridiculous. Yeah. And
Nice.
nothing, not a fucking word about sexual assault or rape.
Oh yeah, no, none of
Not
that.
a word.
I'm gonna say you're over here talking about something serious, and Robin just killed me with the banana bread
Yes.
line. I'm over here trying to hold it back, but I there's no hiding this. This is what it is.
Yes. Robin just commented banana bread served in the cafeteria for the next few weeks.
Terrible.
Amber says, our abstinence only sex ed class was called Project Self-Respect. Oh my God, how shitty and shameful. I'm so sorry. Wish they had actually taught me to respect myself by teaching me how to set and maintain boundaries.
Boy,
Right there.
boundaries.
Right there, Ember.
Yeah.
Self-respect is not about abstinence. It is about setting and maintaining boundaries.
Oh yeah,
Thank
boundaries.
you so much.
Boundaries were a huge thing that I had to work on. Part of that was, again, the way I was raised. I mean, we didn't really have much in the way of boundaries in my household. I'm in a family of I have 3 other siblings. We weren't exactly what you would call rich in items, but we were rich in love. That was kind of it. So when you got 3 boys holed up in one bed, you know what I mean? You're close.
Right.
That's how it works. But yeah, so there was no boundaries. I didn't have boundaries there. I barely had boundaries with my mom and dad. She always, like, my mom was one. She would give me. This was our rule. Our rule was, if you can talk about whatever it is you want to ask me about and not giggle, we'll go into anything. And this was from the age of, like, that was barely in double digits, man.
Right.
So that, again, boundaries. Wish I had a few more. Begged for boundaries as a kid. Stuff like that. But with that, I actually found myself pushing boundaries with people I've been in relationships with. And it was like I don't want to say it was a game. It wasn't a game for me. It was my emotions depended on that. If I couldn't get you to budge or do or whatever, you didn't really love me. It was like all these stupid little tests to test your love for me, which is such a shitty way to handle that for yourself. Not only is it bad for you, but it's bad for whoever you're in a relationship with. That is buku terrible.
I remember we had a few.
We had a couple
calls with that. Yeah,
we had a couple, and then that was before I knew that there was anything wrong, that I needed to do anything. It was one of those situations, and you gave on some too, and. Oh, now I feel weird because I just went back to childhood stuff. That's what this was. That's where this came from.
I'm glad I could therapy you today.
No, that's weird. No, because I used to ask my mom, I would beg my mom, can you make me clean my room? Can you set boundaries for me? Can you, and didn't. It comes back to that. That's wild. Anyway, sorry to skew from that, but you can see where that affected me all the way up into my adulthood, and still to this day I have to check that stuff.
Yeah,
like I feel it coming on, and now I can identify what it is and know where it's coming from, and it's all coming from a place of insecurity and all this inside of me. But you got to actively check that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Amber says they had the same request as a
wow,
child.
It's crazy. That's absolutely crazy how. Well, one, the commonality of that is pretty wild. That what are the chances of one person on this stream having had that same thing happen? And then we have, similar situations and thoughts and things like that. I don't know.
I would guarantee you that the commonality is a lot bigger than just you and Ember. Like it's probably a big thing in people who have issues with boundaries.
Yeah, chaotic households. You could call it that. It is what it is. Yeah, that stability and whatnot. While I didn't need much of the time. I mean, there were times we had some crazy situations, but I don't know, the want for structure there was huge, and that's why now I guess I rely so much on lists. If I don't have a list that I feel like I can control, my anxiety flows through the roof. That control thing flowed into my relationships. If I couldn't control people, like hell, with our relationship, with me having never been in any sort of polyamorous situation or any knowledge other than straight up hetero, and if she cheats, she hates you, and if you cheat, you're the worst person, and but people are gonna cheat, all that kind of crap.
Right, all your relationships have been like super hetero monogamous.
There was no other option.
Yeah.
What happened didn't exist. And going through that piece, like having to learn all that was interesting. But we got into situations with that because there were times where I would need to control you. You're not really controllable. There's a lot about you that you are, but you're not really controllable, and that didn't work out. So yeah, we bumped heads a bit on stuff like that, and I didn't realize that's what it was. That I needed that control to feel safe, to feel
right.
Stabilized. But that's what it was. Yeah, you go from limited hetero one-to-ones, and it's like, nah, let's go ahead and put this on expert mode. Done. Let's see what this whole poly thing's about.
You were so cute and enthusiastic, though.
I was dope. It was a science experiment in the beginning. I know that sounds crappy because we're humans, but it was like,
you thought it was so cool and interesting. Like,
is this a thing that people can do? Yeah. And I wasn't quite cut from that cloth just yet. It took time. It took working, learning, reading. Oh my God, the reading. There's so, and unfortunately at the time, there wasn't really a whole lot of information out there.
No.
It's so, I hate to sound like an old guy. Back in my day, we had the ethical slut and we were happy. It's one of those, but now there's so much information out there, and there's so many people who are out about everything. And it's a hell of a time to be alive. We'll just put it like that. It's really cool. But yeah, you had to actively work on that stuff.
Ember says that they were emotionally abused as a kid. They said, I was emotionally abused as a kid by my parents, and it set me up to accept emotionally abusive boyfriend turned husband when I was 22.
Yeah.
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 Same girl, same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not myself.
I feel attacked.
Yeah. Are we twins? This just happened.
Yeah. A lot of emotional. I wouldn't say that I was emotionally abused. I would say that I was emotionally manipulated, and I lacked emotional education growing up, which did set me up for toxic relationships.
Yeah.
Which is, again, one of the reasons, like, I try to make my children as emotionally intelligent as fucking possible to, we're all going to fuck up and we're all going to have shitty relationships. But if I can prevent some of those, then awesome.
Yeah. And not to fawn over you, but that is the one thing I can say. If you ever have a question about something you did really well in life, it was raising your kids. My God, just having a conversation with, and no names, but just having a conversation with the kids about anything that they're either passionate about or knowledgeable about is always great. And I'll push and see where they're, not breaking point, but kind of see, are you serious, or are you just regurgitating something you heard? Are you,
right.
what do you really feel? And man, they can hold their own. It's awesome.
Yeah.
They're really good.
And a lot of people think my kids do just regurgitate.
Nah.
And they don't. They absolutely think for themselves, and they've been taught to think for themselves.
Yep, and they don't necessarily have to agree with you. They don't always. They don't always. So yeah. Enough gushing. I love those jokers.
Yeah. So one of the things that we talked about prior to you coming on was that you did want to talk about a couple situations that you and I were in
Oh yeah.
where you felt like you violated my consent.
Yeah.
And I use that terminology because neither of us feel like it was an assault. It was a sexual assault. It was a violation of consent and a miscommunication,
Yeah.
which can lead to sexual assault or can be the same thing, y'all. It absolutely can be the same thing. And that really just depends on how you feel about it.
Oh yeah. I don't get to decide how you feel about it.
Right.
You get to decide what that is. All I get to decide is how I act after that.
Right.
But yeah, no. As far as the couple of situations that come to mind, one of which I had consent, full consent, and it was the next day that I felt weird in my heart. I guess it's a weird way to say it, but you had come to crash, spend the night and all that fun stuff, and you had taken your medicine for the your sleepy time meds, and you were like, yeah, it's okay, everything's okay, so just know that I'm probably going to go out in the middle of it. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's cool. And it was fine in the moment. And then I got up the next day and I just felt bad about it, like just really bad. And you're like, no, I gave you consent on that. I was like, well, why does it feel bad? Why
And to
does that feel
clarify,
bad?
I do want to clarify and say that you had consent in the moment.
Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't a, hey, anytime I go to sleep, you can fuck
Oh,
me. It
and
was a consent in the moment.
yeah,
Um, and we had a dynamic where we used each other's bodies at times.
right.
So I wanted to clarify that unless there is a negotiated consent immediately prior to it happening, it is not okay. Being asleep is a no.
Yeah, no. Just from a straight up don't wake me up position, I'm going to be irritated. Like, that's just irritation, not to mention the emotional issues that you're going to catch with that. I
Right.
don't understand, and this maybe because I have done work, I don't understand how the default switch is not no.
Right.
The default switch should always be no.
Always be on no.
I knew that
Until
when I
it
was
is
a child.
enthusiastically pushed over to yes, it is default
Yeah.
no.
And there's ways to check up in the midst of without coming out of the moment. And I guess that's one of the that's one of the things that I kind of, I don't want to say pride myself. I don't know what it is, but checking up in the middle of scenes or situations or whatever, my responsibility, if I'm any sort of top or anything like that, is to make sure that you are okay.
And we've switched to, just for our listeners, we're talking
Yeah.
about a BDSM situation now,
Well,
and not so much in
yeah,
a relationship
right,
situation.
right. Which can be both. Both can be right.
Absolutely. I just wanted to
But-
clarify.
But yeah, no, that in that situation, like, it is my responsibility to make sure that you're okay. And it should be your responsibility to help make sure that I'm still okay with everything. That's part of the partnership.
Yeah.
But yeah, that situation was it made me question, even though I had full consent in that scenario, I didn't feel right about it. Something was wrong about that, so
You didn't feel right about it, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't understand why someone would want to have sex with somebody who's not present.
Yeah, that does not work for me. I found that out.
Yeah,
But
like the whole touching someone
Yeah.
and sexual acts with someone while they're sleeping, I don't understand it.
nah.
I don't understand wanting to have sex with someone who's not present or isn't as enthusiastic about it as you are.
That's a whole genre of videos that I don't understand. There's certain ones of those that I'm just like, what that really is a rape fantasy. What that really is and you go through those and you start to check, oh God, that's again problematic. I hate that word, but it is what it is.
And of course, we are not talking about consensual non-consent. That is a whole other thing that Robin is much more schooled in and can talk about.
That is a
and then the other instance that you and I had spoken about was kind of, I want to say sexual assault is not on a spectrum.
Right.
If it was.
Well, if we take it by the definitions that you gave earlier, which it's kind of hard to define human interaction with a paragraph. It's a little more in depth than that. But I think that second example that you gave of the touching or whatever of someone without express consent, that kind of thing. Yeah. So the situation was we were at a con and we were both inebriated.
We were at Frolicon, right?
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know we were able to just toss all that out.
Yeah, we can toss out Frolicon.
Okay, good. So we were at Frolicon and we were in our room.
Which is a kink and BDSM centered conference.
Right.
Or convention.
It's pretty fun. Frolicon, we were there, we were in our room, we were, having fun times, and there was a little bit of backside smacking going on there, and then she was like, "Oh yeah, let's go," and I was like, "I'm not really feeling like going," and I grabbed her up and swatted her one more time, and she was like, "That's not okay," and I was like, "Shit, that's not okay," and in the moment, that is considered sexual assault. Like that is what that is. So that was a moment that made me think, "Ooh, that's not right. Ooh, that makes my heart feel weird. Ooh, I don't ever want to feel that again."
Which is the right reaction when you violate someone's space or boundaries.
Right.
That's the right reaction.
Oh, that was a wild one. Because it's a butt swat, but in that moment, it was a lot more than a butt swat. So yeah, I get it. I get that. I got that piece. I never wanted to feel that piece again for me. And I hated that you felt any kind of way negatively about that too, because that's not the memory I want you to have of me in any scenario. So that was when honestly, that is when I decided to, hey, what was that? How does fix? It's kind of where I got, and that was a long journey that I'm still driving.
So tell me something though. What does that look like for you?
As far as
that journey, what does that look like for you when you have to like internalize and look at things?
Yeah. Oh,
tell me what that looks like.
You don't get to be the good guy all the time. That's not how that works. In our brains, we're always the good guy and we're the virtuous here. I guess it goes back to, none of the villains know that they're villains in comic books. They're doing the right thing in their brain. But no, it's one of those situations to where
Thanos had a good reason for what he was doing.
Right. No, he was... No, I'm not Team Thanos. You have to think about your part in everything. It can't always be somebody else's fault. It's never always or never anything, So that scenario was, what did I do in this situation? And go over it in my head, God knows how many times. I do that anyway because brain. What did they really mean? No, what did those words really mean when they said that, or what were they really thinking? That kind of situation. But yeah, you go over that, and then you start to connect situations that may have been similar to that, and then you're like, okay, there may be a pattern here. The whole time you're down on yourself about it if you don't know how to go through that. But honestly, reading how to basically self-check, there's tools out there. There's books out there. There's, God knows, the age of digital content. There are people out there who can talk. I mean, we have psychologists, psychiatrists. We have all kinds of people who specialize in this kind of thing. But me being the the guy that I am, I was self-taught in my career, and I figured, if any other man can do this, I can do this. Whatever. Longer journey.
Do you have any specific books that you use, or specific psychologists that you listen to speak? Or
what I will do is I'll get you a couple of links of some of the things that I've done that were palatable for me. Again, mileage may vary for whoever else. This is all subjective to you personally, but a couple of the sources that worked for me, and off the top of my head, I cannot even think, because it's one of those things to where it's a constant flood of knowledge on that scenario, especially if I feel myself kicking back into certain ways or feeling certain feels and things like that. I was like, wait, no, something's up, and I have to figure out what that flag is. But yeah, I'll get you a couple of links, and is it possible to post those in the chat afterwards or something like
absolutely.
that?
Yeah.
So, okay,
absolutely.
Yeah, we'll do that. I'll find a couple of pieces of info that helped me out. A couple of the things that really helped me out were just figuring out sort of the why in those scenarios, almost like when we were talking earlier, and I figured out, well, part of that was from my childhood. Well, I figured out a huge portion of that was from my childhood a couple of years back, but I didn't attribute it to that. I attributed it to other things that I'm dealing with. And it's when you make, what's the word? I guess mistake. When you make a mistake like that, or hey, Robin, yeah, yes, very much so. Robin
Go
said,
ahead, read that.
Yeah, we're all human, and we make mistakes. What's important is that we're receptive and actively trying to learn and do better, and that's the thing. As long as you're on that comeback trail, that's the one. You gotta push forward. But if you stay stagnant, it's just, nobody wants to swim in a stagnant pool. That's kind of it. And all you're going to do is anybody that does come into your life, you're just going to gross them up. So that's not okay. Right. But yeah, that working forward, that breaking that down in your brain as far as, okay, this was wrong. Why was it wrong? Why do I feel the way that I feel about this? How do I fix this feel? It takes a lot of, I guess, introspection is the word. You got to go in and scrape all those little pieces that you use to protect yourself and to make you right about everything. Like, well, maybe that's not the chocolate core. Maybe, maybe that's some gunk in there. And you got to figure that piece out. Now, I can't tell you how to figure out your own, but I can tell you what I did to figure out mine and some of the sources that I used to figure my piece out. And again, I'm not done. It's not figured out. Not even close to figured out. It's a check. Like, I have to check myself with my wife sometimes. Like, it's one of those things. I mean, we are a tight partnership. Like, the pandemic did one of two things for folks.
Yeah.
And we were the one where we came together and became a more cohesive team. And basically that scenario, I still find myself sometimes with that sense of entitlement, and I have to be like, no, that's okay. And that goes for so many scenarios, not just sexual assault. That goes for, being raised in the South, where you have, your race theories and your things like that, all this stuff that's in your head. You're like, no, what was that? What is that?
Right.
But yeah, as long as you're working towards that, I mean, you're trying to be a better person, trying to learn, trying to grow from it. That's, I think, the kicker there.
I think that what you said about asking yourself why I feel this way and why I think this way
Yeah.
is super important, because then you can go back to the roots of where those feelings came from.
Yeah, and that could be valid in you. That could be something that you just feel. It could be something that no other influence has had on you except for your own thoughts. And that's, if you can reconcile that, that's okay with you, go for it. I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. I couldn't go with hurting someone that I cared about, or leaving them with an image of me that isn't me. Like, it's not me, and I don't want that to be. That was me in a moment, right?
Right.
But
right.
I don't want that to be me forever. Like, that's not it.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point. That's you in a moment, and if you don't want that to be you forever, you've got to do the work.
That's kind of, oh God, I don't want to go into this, but that's kind of that cancel culture piece that I kind of feel sad about, is that if people have actively tried, now you have people that don't try, right, and they just hide what they are. But if they actively try, I mean, if we're not going to be given a chance to redeem, what incentive do people have to do the work?
Right.
That's,
I would agree with that.
Yeah. There are those who just won't do the work.
Yeah.
So, case in point, your situation.
Yeah.
We
are coming up on 12:45 Eastern time, which means we got about 15 minutes left. I want to. No, I don't want. Part of me, like the business part of me, says I have to do my sponsors, and I don't want to. I don't want to because I don't think it's appropriate right now.
Right.
So I want to re-emphasize something that we've mentioned a couple times in the show, and it's that entitlement towards your partner. And I want everyone to remember that your partner does not owe you a fucking thing, and you don't owe your partner a fucking thing. And I'm talking about your body, I'm talking about your time, I'm talking about emotions. They don't owe you anything. You are not entitled to any of those things from your partner. And once people understand that, I think it's going to be a lot easier for people to ask if this is okay. And have that default no. Because I feel like with that fucking entitlement that we have towards each other, especially fucking partners, that the default is yes.
Yeah.
And until that entitlement view is changed, we can't change the default to no. Which means this is going to continue to happen.
Yep. Agreed.
If I could help prevent one fucking person from feeling the way that I have felt in the last month, that's all I want to do. I have gone, I'm so lucky to have the support system that I have. So fucking lucky. That I was able to have my friends kick me in the side of the head, metaphorically. Because I went there, y'all. I went there with what did I do? what did I do wrong here? Did I give some sort of perception that this was okay? And everyone in my life, including Shawn, said, if someone came to you and told you what you're saying to me, what would you say to them? And it was, I would say, this is not your fucking fault, because it is not my fault. It is not my fault this happened.
No, someone broke your trust. They're the asshole in this scenario. Like that's it. That's it. 100%.
Yeah. And I've been asked, why didn't you call the police? And that's a complicated answer. I didn't call the police for many reasons. I didn't call the police because, first and foremost, I don't trust the police. I don't trust that they're going to help me. And I don't trust that they're going to do anything. Secondly, I cared about this person. And I didn't feel like calling the police was the answer. I felt like speaking with this person was the answer. And telling this person how much they hurt me and offering to do the work with them, which I was not obligated to do.
No.
But I felt like that was going to make a bigger impact than calling authorities. Like I said, I have an incredible support system. I am so very, very lucky to have the people around me that I do, to have the partners that I do, to have the family that I have cultivated. That makes them sound like pearls, but they are pearls. I'm so very lucky, and it breaks my heart to think that there are people out there that are having to go through this alone, that are having to go through what I've gone through without support system, without somebody telling them it's not your fucking fault. You didn't do anything wrong. If you are that person, please call the RAIN hotline below. Reach out to someone. Fuck, if you don't have anybody else, reach out to me. I will make sure you know that you didn't do anything wrong. You did not cause this. Yeah. That's it's a win that I did not cry on the air today.
Yeah, I guess I owe you the $20. No.
I feel like Robin's been sitting there going, oh God, she's gonna cry. Oh God, she's gonna cry. Yeah. I'm out of tears. I'm to the point where I'm mad now.
Oh Lord.
But there's a what's the thing that says that anger is sad's protector or something like that. And I think that's where I'm at, is that I'm just fucking angry now. I'm tired of hurting and I'm angry. Robin says, learn how to take a no. Oh God, that's so big. So fucking huge. I hate that you say this now, Robin. We have 6 minutes left.
Yeah, that's that boundary pushing that I was talking about earlier. When I hear a no as a salesman, I got to get a yes. Like, it doesn't matter what. And then when I attach that to my emotions, I got to get a yes, or I'm just useless and garbage and trash and nobody loves me.
Yep.
That when I say the work that I put in, that piece right there, huge. Huge. And still to this day, I have to do that on the regular. I have to realize, no, my friends actually do love me. No,
Yep.
my the people who are in my life actually do care about me. There's other circumstances.
That
No is
no
okay.
is not associated with how much they love you.
No is okay.
Robin says that's something I work hard on with the kids. If they say hug, it's hard, but I respect it and thank them for asserting their boundaries. The better people can take a no, the easier it will be for folks to say no.
Yeah. To give one small piece to that, the reason that it's hard for me to, or again, reason, not right, reason it's hard for me to say no is in my mind and in my actions, I will do anything for the people that I care about to the detriment of myself, which is a character flaw and something that I've been working on actively as well. And I expect the same. You can't apply that to every situation. You can't apply that to people's bodies. And that's just kind of a, ooh, that's bad. That's bad. But that's the scenario. That's the in the brain what's happening. And I don't know. That's one that I'm working on. But yeah, to say no and to take a no, really huge. If you can work on that, really, really huge.
And I have I want to end the show with this. I want to say this, and then we'll say our goodbyes. This is a list of no's that people need to understand means no. As the moral of the story is anything but an enthusiastic yes is a fucking no. Not now means no. Wait means no. I'd rather be alone means no. No, thank you means no. I have a boyfriend, girlfriend, or partner means no. Maybe later means no. Let's just go to sleep means no. Means no. It hurts means no. Fuck you means no. Fuck me means yes.
Hey.
I'm not in the mood means no. You're not my type means no. Silence means no. Staying still means no. I really like you, but means no. You're drunk means no. I'm drunk means no. Not kissing back means no. I'm not sure means no. Anything but an enthusiastic yes. And that is so important to me, the enthusiastic part.
Yeah.
Because it means it was not coerced. Because coerced sex is fucking rape. An enthusiastic yes is what you're looking for. Do not touch your partner unless they give you an enthusiastic yes. I mean, as a whole, don't touch anybody unless they give you an enthusiastic yes. But even your fucking partner who you are not entitled to, do not touch them without an enthusiastic yes. I want to thank our guest today, our special guest, special to me and special to the show today. Sir Landry, thank you so much for your time and for your stories.
Oh yeah, anytime.
Is there anything you want to say in closing?
I think we pretty much hit the nail on the head there with everything. Like I say, my one big takeaway from this for anybody who's working on themselves is standard operating procedure is no. Like that, it's that simple. I have a metaphorical switch in my head that is just off. Like, and again, just read it clear. If it's not, like you said, emphatic yes, if it's not a super hype yes, no. No.
Right.
So yeah,
Thank you
no, it was awesome
so much.
being here. Thank you for having me on, and thanks to everybody for engaging in the chat as well. It was really great.
I have pretty
Thanks to
awesome
Robin for
listeners.
being, absolutely amazing and taking me off my game there. That was fun.
I have some awesome listeners, and I know there's actually a bunch of people who've contacted me and was like, oh man, I can't make the show today. Can I listen to it afterwards? So, watch the chats, because there probably is going to be some comments after the show for people who are watching it on the delay. So I want to thank all the listeners, like you said, for engaging today. I want to, God, I can't even thank you enough for being so supportive and such an amazing partner now that we've done the work.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I say we, y'all, it wasn't just Shawn. We did the
definitely
work. There was shit I needed to work on too, to get us back to where we were, to where we are.
Yeah, we got it.
But yeah, so thank you so much for being fucking awesome.
Literally anytime. That's my
and
only
for
mode.
Continuously working on you.
Oh yeah.
So, all right. Until next week. I don't have a topic for next week yet. So if anybody has any ideas, I'm open. Continue the chat, continue questions. Shawn and I both will check back in the chats periodically. And Shawn, you're going to share that list of resources.
Yeah. I'll grab a couple of them that I've definitely used. So
fantastic. If you just want to share it in one of the chats, because it's on both the Split Radio page and in the Facebook group, the Many Loves Lunch Hour with Mandy. I'll copy it and paste it over for those of you who listen either way. And until next time, my many loves. Have a great day. Bye.